I'm Paige. I'm an alcoholic. Hey. Oh, what a privilege it is to be here. And first and foremost, I want to apologize for my accent. And I have a bad habit of talking quickly. So again, I apologize for that. And, an interesting thing is, Eileen, she knows about this reading. And Graham was kind enough talking about when Alex was starting this. And I'm like, yeah, the Just for Today card. We don't have it where I live. I've never read it. And I was like, yeah. And it's like, you're going to share on that. I'm like, great, what is this? And so I look it up. And, there was a couple things that jumped out at me with the Just for Today card. And the first was, I will be unafraid. And the reason it jumped out at me was because when I was new, that was not possible. It was not possible for me to experience a state without fear. That was all I knew. We were talking with some friends when we were down in London, and I was saying, I was anxious in vitro. I was hanging onto that umbilical cord. I don't want out. It was too much. And I didn't know how to find a way to ease the fear that I knew my entire life. Well, until I found alcohol. And see, I don't know about you, but I'll tell you what happens to me. See, I take a drink, and I experience that freedom from fear. I experience that I'm okay. I experience, everything that I needed from that drink, and I chase it. You see, I take that drink, and that drink sets off the phenomenon of craving, and I need more, and I burn it to the ground until it's so bad I got to stop drinking. But you see, I can't stop drinking on my own power. I try, not everything, but everything I tried to get sober didn't work. And I'm stuck in this hopeless condition of I can't drink, but I can't stay sober. And I can't stay sober, but I can't drink. And drinking is so unbearable. And I put myself into so many consequences that I'm full and wrapped up in fear and the bondage of self. And I don't know that's what it is, but I'm stuck in me, and I can't get nothing between me and me. It's me on me, like bone on bone. And when I get sober, I'm in that exact same state. I can't stand the way that I feel. I can't stand what's going on in my life. And I come to rooms like this with people like you, and just don't be afraid. And I'm like, I don't know if you've met newcomers. There's a lot going on, and there's a lot to be terrified. All things I created in my mind. Maybe, yes. All these things that I created in my mind, but that freedom from fear was so elusive. So how do I get it? Well, in the big book, or the book Alcoholics Anonymous, we have promises, not just the 9-step ones, but we have promises all over the book. And in the section on fear inventory, it gives us a powerful promise. And it says, just to the extent that we do as we think God would have us and humbly rely upon Him, does He enable us to match calamity with serenity. And that is the promise. And the beauty in that is I don't even have to be doing God's will. I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be doing my best to do the spiritual action that is in front of me. And the result of that is that the fear that I have will be matched with a serenity that is not my own. And that is my lived experience. But I want to be clear, how do I get that freedom? Where do I get that freedom? Well, I make the decision in step 3 that I'm not running the show anymore. And ultimately, the 3rd step decision is a decision that I'm going to work these 12 steps as a way of life, like my life depends on it, because it does. And what happens is I write inventory like my life depends on it, because it does. And as I begin to put pen to paper on that fear inventory, I will write on how has me relying on me brought that fear into fruition or made that fear worse. And then I say a prayer. And I have a look at all those things, and I look at what if I relied on a power greater than myself. And there is a deeper level, and Graham will call it the even if prayer. Even if this happens, if I rely on this power, if I rely on God, I will be okay. And I will use that experience to help others. And that is my experience. I'm somebody, I came into Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't speak for the first 6 or 9 months. And that's who I was. But I take these actions, the spiritual actions, the 12 steps that I don't like, that I don't agree with, that I do not think will help somebody like me. And I grow and I change despite myself. Now, the other part of the Just for Today reading that jumped out at me was, I will be happy. And I know I said it out of order, but that's how this share's going. Because I don't know about you, but when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, I was miserable. Now, I have a friend, I was speaking with her a couple of years ago, and she said, Paige, when I first met you, and when she first met me, I was about year 3, maybe, of sobriety. She said, now, the takeaway from this is that I win. She said that you were the most, Paige, you were the most negative and self-deprecating person that I had ever met. I win! I'm winning! And I'm somebody, I would show up to a room and I could suck the energy out of the room. And from as long as I can remember, I was miserable. As long as I could remember, I hated myself. As long as I could remember, I could not stand the way that I felt. I could not stand being in my own skin as early as I can remember. I remember, and I know our school systems are a little bit different, but I remember being suicidal in the 3rd grade. In the 3rd grade, life was too much for somebody like me. And I remember coming into Alcoholics Anonymous, and I couldn't even imagine being happy. Not even on a just for today basis, happiness was elusive for somebody like me. And I'll be honest with you, I could not even want to be happy. I couldn't even get to I want to be happy. Like I just could not do that. And I did not understand what was available for me in Alcoholics Anonymous. You see, I believed that you guys were sober and doing that even on weekends. Took me a little while to get you doing the full 7-day work week sort of deal with this thing. But I believed that was possible. But I thought that little voice that I had my entire life that would say, if it gets bad enough, you don't need to be here. That voice would be with me until it got so bad enough that I didn't need to be here. I didn't think I would have freedom from that. And actually, to also talk about briefly, I on the time, my experiences, I had a lot of awful things that have happened to me in my alcoholism, but some of the most because it didn't get here on a winning streak, but some of the most painful things that have happened to me in my life have happened to me in my sobriety. Pains and losses and griefs that I did not know how I would survive. And you see, Alcoholics Anonymous, in my experience, offers more than mere abstinence. And so when did happiness begin to come into my life? Well, it began to come into my life after some of the most painful things that have ever happened to me. And I was driven to a point of desperation. And God showed up in a way that God often shows up as an alcoholic. Another alcoholic that offers something. And what was offered to me was to do a spiritual exercise. Really, long story short, I got involved with the 12 steps as a way that my illness demands it be treated. And I began to work the 11th step with the seriousness and the rigor that for somebody of my type, I need to be working that. And I began to go hard at 4 through 9. Cleaning that house in a way that I had never done before. And what happened to me is I changed. I didn't do it. I took actions I didn't like. I took actions I didn't believe in. Do something you don't want to do today. The 12 steps. None of those are an appealing course of action before I do them, And I take that action and I changed despite myself. And there was a happiness that came, and it's not happiness. There was a joy and a peace and a serenity that I have been able to experience that I promise you I did not think possible. I promise you I didn't earn. I promise you I didn't deserve, but it came to me, and it flows through me. And man, that's what's available. Not don't go to meetings just for today, because I can't do that. I can't do that. It's not possible for somebody like me. And then in the reading, it spoke. It spoke about do something nice for somebody and don't get caught. And man, that's where joy is. The joy is when I can do something for somebody else. And what Alcoholics Anonymous has given me is a life of meaning and purpose. I hated myself. I had no meaning. It was purposeless. My existence was futile. And today I get to sit down with another alcoholic. And I get to say, I've been there. I know how you feel. I've gone through what you've gone through. Man, we have a solution. We have a way out. Let's get to work. Let's get free. And that has given my life a joy beyond my wildest dreams. Never in my life would I expect to be hanging out at the Murryfield Church of the Good Shepherd meeting, you know? And here I am, a life I didn't earn, a life I didn't deserve, but a gift that was given to me as the result of taking the spiritual actions of the 12 steps despite my thoughts or opinions or beliefs on them. And that is 10 minutes. Thank you for letting me share.